I'm John Veely, CEO of Online Visas and head legal counsel at Veely Law Firm. And I'm here to talk about immigration and the COVID-19 pandemic, and also known as the coronavirus, and how you should be dealing with it, or how you can be dealing with it during these tough times. I see a couple people are coming in. Hi, Grace Bunner. Nice to see you. So look, a couple of things I want to touch base on right now. One is that what do you do if you're an employer and you've been asked to shut down, or your businesses can't do business today? That's happening to a lot of people right now. And what should we do about it? Well, there's a couple of different things that are happening. There are businesses that have been asked to shut down completely, like hotels or restaurants and bars, and they can't be open, and they have foreign nationals as employees. There are businesses that aren't doing very much business, and they may want to close down. Some are terminating their employees. Some are putting them on unleave pays of absence. Some are paying them anyway, and those are some of the scenarios that are going on. So let's talk about what those are. Now, right now, if you have an employee who's on a visa and they can no longer go to work, they may be out of status. Typically, what a visa will ask is that you've put in the place you're going to be working and what you're going to be doing. So if you're not at that place or currently working at all, traditionally you would have been out of status. So is that going to be the way going forward? We don't think it will, but sometimes you just got to do what you have to do. The other thing is whether or not employees can seek medical attention or even receive some sort of federal or state benefits. All right. So in those scenarios, there are some interesting things that immigration's doing on it right now. So let's kind of break them down. Now, if someone was to ask me, is it better to terminate an employee or be terminated than be put on an unpaid leave of absence? One remark is the unpaid leave of absence is probably less difficult to explain away later than the termination. If someone's terminated, then they no longer are working in the status of that visa. Now, that may be forgiven because of COVID-19, it may not. So if you have the choice, I would say err on the unpaid leave of absence, or if you can, pay your employees or continue to get paid. Now, a couple things come in there. If you're on an unpaid leave of absence versus terminated, you may be able to stay on health benefits or possibly go to one of those types of benefits like COBRA that come in when your insurance isn't happening. So that's a benefit right there. There's a couple of things that we found out. Now, immigration has just stated something new, and that is the public charge problem, we should call it. So the public charge is a new thing under this administration that says that people can't have been a public charge or maybe a public charge and obtain a visa. We just saw the change in the I-129 visa application that requires you to list if you've been a public charge, or if you're an employer to list how your potential employee has been a public charge. And it lists a couple of things. Any state or federal benefits would be considered a public charge historically. Also, Medicaid would be considered a public charge. Now, Medicaid for emergency situations is an exception. So if you have to go in to see if you have the COVID virus, then that, of course, would play there. Now, there have been other things that have specifically come in that say that that allow you to do that because of this. Now, USCIS has a website, and I can read from it right now. So under the public charge element, so if you Google USCIS and public charge, you'll see an alert. It's sort of a gray field that will tell you lots of things to look at. And one of them states that going in to deal with this virus is going to be exempted anyway. Like I said, emergency situations are. So if you have to do Medicaid under an emergency situation, you're not going to be a public charge anyway. But they've now specifically said that this virus is one of those. Another thing they said is the ability to rely on public benefits. Right now, this historically would have been a taboo. But let me read to you, in this. It says, for example, if the alien, now I hate that word, but that means foreign national, is prevented from working or attending school or must rely on public benefits during the duration of the COVID-19 outbreak, and recovery phase, all right, so they're given some time in there, the alien can provide an explanation and relevant supporting documentation to the extent relevant and credible, USCIS will take all evidence into consideration in the totality of the alien's circumstances. Okay, now what does that mean? So that means a couple things. So if you're getting another visa, an extension of the visa, and you have to say, have I been a public charge? You're going to have to say, yes, I accepted this uninsured benefit from either the state or federal government. And what you're going to say is, but I received it because of the COVID-19 pandemic, right? So what do you need to do to prove that? Well, first thing, if you're an employer, make sure that you put on a document that this employee can no longer receive employment or can no longer be employed by you, whether on a leave of absence, a furlough, or is being terminated because of the COVID-19 outbreak. Make sure you put that in writing. Give it to your employees so they can have that. Employees, make sure you ask for that. Not all employers know how to do with this. This is brand new for everybody. No one's ever been through this before. Immigration's never been through this before. But what we can tell you as lawyers is paper that stuff up, right? Number two, if you go to a doctor to be tested, even if you're found to not be negative or that they won't test you, get the paperwork. All right. Now, I'm not telling you to run into a medical clinic right now. I don't know that I would want to do that. But at some point, something like that may be helpful. And I think that's something that you should do. So again, what immigration's saying is they're not giving us a pass. They're saying they'll take it into consideration if credible. So make sure you get paperwork. Employers, make sure that you say this is why you're doing that. If somebody's being terminated because they stole from the till, they're not going to get this benefit. Right? So be careful about that sort of stuff. Hey, it's great to see all these people out there that are watching us right now. Thank you very much for tuning in. So this is John Veely again. I'm with Online Visas. I'm the CEO, lead counsel of Veely Law. We're talking about immigration. We're talking about the COVID-19 pandemic. We're talking about also known as the coronavirus and what that means. We've been talking about being a public charge so far. If you need more information, you can go to onlinevisas.com. We're going to start posting some of this stuff. We're going to be on here. We're going to try to go daily. No promises right now. Right now, our office is open. We have our employees here. We're in a smaller state with a smaller population, but daily this stuff's changing. If we do have to close the actual office, we will work from home online. We're ready for that. We're here to help you. If you want to, drop me an email at jon@velielaw.com. I can deal with this. If you call me, 405-310-4333, we can schedule an appointment. You can also do that on onlinevisas.com. We know how important all of this is and how confusing all of this is and how it's all changing. And to be honest, a lot of the things I'm talking about don't have real answers yet. USCIS has weighed in about as milquetoast of a way it can. We're going to look at it on a case-by-case basis. That's fairly irresponsible, but that's how they are, and that's what we're going to deal with. Now, some other things that are interesting is, are you out of status or you're not out of status? And will that be forgiven in the same way that being a public charge is? I think we can guess that it would. If you think about it, if every employee was out of status because they couldn't work because the government told them, their employer they couldn't work, then we would have no more foreign nationals working, right? I can't see that will be the way they do it. So if you're a company, you're going to have to do what you do. But what I'm trying to give you is words are important. The way you do it is important, right? So if you can not fire somebody, but to put them on a leave of absence, it probably is going to be in their benefit. All right, so think about that. Again, if you want help with the language, give us a call. We're open and willing to help about that and things like that. There's a couple of things that we've been compiling in dealing with that. So on the out of status one, I have a question and answer thing we're going to post on Online Visas right now. So it says, I am on an H-1B work visa and was laid off or terminated because of COVID-19. Am I automatically considered out of status? Well, the answer is no. And there's some things you can do. At the very end of the Obama administration, last 3 days in the Obama administration, they passed a bill, or not a bill, but really a policy that was called, that gave 60-day grace periods And what that 60-day grace period means, if you're on a non-immigrant visa, those are the temporary visas, right? And some of those are the H-1B, the E-2, the L-1, the O, the P. There's an alphabet soup of them. If you don't know if you're on it, give us a call. We'll talk you through it. But under these non-immigrant visas, if you're fired, under that new policy, or it's not that new anymore, it's about 3 years old, there can be a grace period to file with another employer, right? So if you are fired, your company goes out of business, you're not out of status, you do not need to go home. Remember, you do not need to go home. And that's really important right now because a lot of people don't want to get on an airplane. A lot of people don't want to give up on their dream, and they want to see this thing out. So 60 days is 2 months. That's a good period of time. So within that 60 days, you could file another non-immigrant visa with another company, and that would keep you in status until that is done. Now, we don't know if premium process is going to be available for all of the visas right now. H-1Bs it looks like it's not going to be available. For the others, it probably still is. But that could get you a 15-day decision. But in any case, just filing it keeps you in an additional piece of status. Now, does that allow you to work? No. But does it allow you to take the unemployment benefits? Well, as I just talked about, it does if it's based on COVID-19. Okay, so in that situation, you got fired. You got fired because of COVID-19. They shut down the company because of COVID-19. You can file with a new company within 60 days, and according to what I just read to you, and again, these are moving standards. It's not written in stone, but under the public charge of USCIS, and I say look at this first before you make a decision. Right? Get a specific legal opinion on your scenario. It says that you could go rely on these public benefits and it would be taken in consideration to see if you're a public charge. All right. Now, another thing, if you're laid off and you're not working anymore, right? I mean, you're just not doing those jobs, how problematic it is. Well, that's a visa by visa thing, right? So under the H-1B, it's different than others. Now, the H-1B, if you don't know, those are for the jobs that are for university graduates and jobs that require that. All the white-collar jobs, from lawyers to accountants, lots of techies, managers, things like that. That's the H-1B. Now, the H-1B is a really interesting visa. There's a numeric cap on it. The registration for the numeric cap has just come and gone, so everybody wants to apply for one going forward. They didn't relax that at all. That ended last Friday. If you're in, you're in. If you're not, you're not. But if you're on an H-1B and you're told you can't come to the office, are you out of status, right? Because the H-1B has this interesting piece. There's a document called an LCA. That's a labor condition application. It's filed along with it. It goes to the Department of Labor. It says where you're going to work and what you're going to do and how long you're going to do it. Okay? So if you can't come to the office anymore, are you violating the LCA? Well, maybe, maybe not. Okay? So don't despair. If you're sent home, but you're within a commuting distance, then that's okay. You don't have to file a new LCA. You can work from home. That's all right. Again, employers, paper that up. Okay, tell state that they have to go home because of COVID-19. We can't have them in the office. We've been told we can't do that, or out of an abundance of caution, we're not doing it, right? Even if the government said you can't do it, because the government hasn't said we have to do it right now. But if I've had some people, they're a little under the weather. If they got a cough, they're not coming in here. We're not exposing anybody else to this. They're gonna wait this thing out until they feel better, or not, or if they feel safe for that. So make sure you say that. You can also have people go to places for temporary stints, all right? Temporary stints, maybe up to 60 days. So make sure it's a temporary stint. We're sending them over there, especially if they've been in a location that's not within the commuting distance, right? So do all that you can do to protect that. Again, the devil's in the details of that language. Immigration has not been kind to small distinctions lately, right? Do we expect them to be different after this? I don't think we can rely on that. I think we'll see that there'll be some discretion. I don't know if it will be total discretion, but we have to be very careful, and that's what we need to think about, okay? So there we go. See a lot of great people here watching. I really, really appreciate all of you tuning into this. If anybody has any questions, shoot them out towards me. I'll do the best I can to answer them and go from there. And again, you can ask those questions to us on our website. There's a texting you can do. You can email me at jon@VELIELAW.com. And we're going to try to continue to put this information out. I hope it's helpful. So a couple other things. There's a fact sheet that's been put out by USCIS. when it deals with a couple of other things. For example, USCIS has they have a thing called USCIS Response to the Coronavirus 2019. That is an alert that they've closed all of their routine in-person services until April 1st to slow the spread of the coronavirus. Pretty smart call there. Now, some people have asked us, can we still file immigration cases? Well, yes, you can. That's just for the in-person things, right? So the in-person types of situations in USCIS would be a naturalization interview or a green card interview. Those things won't go on, and that makes all the sense in the world. But filing for a non-immigrant visa, like we talked about, the alphabet soup, the H-1Bs, the O's, the P's, the L's, the E's, even the green cards, that hasn't stopped, the employment-based green cards. Even the marriage-based green cards, you can still file them. This will not last forever. We think this will go a number of months. We don't know how many, and I'm not a doctor. But we can still file these documents. Most immigration things take months anyway, right? So don't slow up your desire for your dream to come and live in this country or continue to live in this country or marry your sweetheart if he or she is from another place. You can still do that. It's still okay. You're still going to be married when this is all over, and we'll go from there. So still file those documents because waiting on it is just going to mean you're going to be farther in line, right? So those are things to think about. Let's see what else we got here. So ICE guidance on COVID-19. Not a big fan of ICE. Luckily, ICE is concerned about their own people, and they don't want them out there getting it either. So they're slowing things down, kind of to where the last administration was. They're only going to look at the most serious crimes, I think, right now. At least that's what they're saying. We've heard stories of other things that are not so nice to hear. We saw a federal court demanded that the current administration let the kids out and send the kids back to their families that are here in the U.S. And we're, of course, in support of that. But ICE is still there, right? So it's an interesting time right now. If you're not in status, they can still get you, but I think we're going to see a slowing on that, hopefully. Another thing that a friend of mine at a hospital asked me, what do we do about the I-9, right? The I-9 is a form. So hospitals are hiring people, right? They're hiring like mad right now, and we love that for them. But the I-9 is the document that you have to fill out, even if you're an American, not American, to show that you're legal to work, right? So if you're an American, you show your Social Security card, you show your driver's license, and that's it, right? Well, you got to show that to somebody in person, right? So here we are in this telecommuting time. So the doctors and nurses are in the hospitals, in the medical facilities. I mean, God, they're on the battlegrounds. And, you know, as scared as you might be, imagine if your workplace was open, not just because somebody may have had the COVID-19 situation, but almost everybody did, right? I mean, really, really scary, especially in the big cities, New York and LA. I'm really, really take my hat off to these people that are, like in a war, right? They're going to battle every day to keep us healthy and safe. And so what happens is their administrators aren't at work, though, right? And who do you show the I-9 to? Well, there's a really good article that was in Forbes by a gentleman named Alonzo Martinez, How to Manage Form I-9 Amid the COVID-19 Pandemic. Social distancing in the I-9, really great article by Mr. Martinez. And one of the things is that he suggested the use of an authorized representative, right? So what it says is that USCIS permits an employer to identify any person to look at these documents to make sure they're okay, right? If they're correct. Now, it's really interesting when you look at that. We've had to give lots of advice to employers about what to ask and what not to ask, right? You can't ask questions of a foreign national that are beyond what you'd ask an American. That's a violation of their civil rights. They can sue because of that. So you have to not only authorize these third parties that could even be family members of the employee, right? So it's important what that authorization says. So, we can be there to help how to write that authorization or to talk to you about how should we do that. That authorization, again, could be a family member, but probably if you're in a hospital or a facility and you have somebody that has any time, time. And I know there's not a lot of that, but maybe somebody on staff could take a look at that and say that they saw it and designate it. It has to be done within 3 days of hire. So there's a lot of particulars on it. And, these are just more government regulations, and they have to be followed, and they're important to be followed. So those are things right there, the I-9. And that's one of those things that nobody was really anticipating when this happened, right? I mean, you got a hospital you want to hire. Now, another thing that comes up, and I don't know the answer to that, and I've been watching it closely for my company and other companies, is there's some bills that are being discussed in Congress today, right, that may allow small businesses to stand in the stead, right, of the government to be, instead of issuing unemployment checks, is that they will grant or provide loans and maybe grants. We don't know what this is going to be, some combination, and maybe with some strings tied to it, that if we keep employing our people, right, and we employ them during this time, even if we're shut down, that they'll forgive that loan at the end, and there'll be low unemployment rates. Now, I say, look at the details of that. Now, if you have a foreign national, this is the best thing you can do for them, is keep them employed, keep them salaried, but not just to foreign nationals, right, to anybody, because if we all have to close our doors, right, and our people have to go out and get unemployment, and we can't be in business anymore. All these folks that we've asked to master their trades, what they do to be really good at, they're going to have to learn something new. They're going to have to go back to being bartenders or waitresses or whatever, even if those restaurants are even open. So I think it's a really good idea what our leaders are thinking right now, to have us keep our doors or keep paying our employees, even if we can't have our doors open, so that they'll have jobs to return to and we'll have businesses to return to. I'm really happy about that. I'm going to be looking at it for my people. I suggest you may look at it for yours if you want to talk about that. We're all really busy right now, but I'm glad to as I learn stuff on that, tell you more about it. On that, let's call this one a day, unless anybody has some questions. I'm reading through here. Got lots of great friends on this that have checked in. A lot of them that have nothing to do with immigration, and I love that too, and many others that do. I see some clients on here, and thanks for tuning in to all of you guys. Again, if you want more information, go to onlinevisas.com. You can set a strategy session there. Email me at jon@velieelaw.com. Call me 405-310-4333. If you need to call me on my cell phone, 405-821-5959, please don't abuse that. But we're here to help you. We're going to be looking at things we can do to help the medical profession find and get visas for doctors and healthcare workers to get to our what will soon be overtaxed healthcare system. If there's anything you can do on that, see what you can do to help. I think a lot of companies are retooling a little bit to deal with this virus. Just keep your hope. We'll all get through this together. Appreciate you all.